Jerry Libre, the prophet Luchador. So, this is actually a very serious video. Jeremiah Johnson was preaching at Global Awakening, Voice of the Prophets Conference. This video was uploaded to YouTube July 16th, 2024. The conference was actually April of 2024. And let's hear what Jeremiah had to say.
I believe that as we empower people in their gifting, we also have to be willing to confront any issues in their life regarding character or accuracy.
Amen.
Or things like that. So I'm a byproduct, if you will, of a charismatic environment, allowing the gifts to flourish. When I turned 18, I had a choice. I was either going to accept a full ride wrestling scholarship.
Full ride wrestling scholarship. When I heard this, I thought, man, Jeremiah was a bad dude. I have a background in wrestling. It's what I did as a kid, 4th grade on till I graduated high school. I myself was 4 years varsity. I was a little above average. I wasn't really great, but I wasn't a bad wrestler either. So I follow. It's probably the only sport that I really care about today. And so this really piqued my curiosity, piqued my interest. I thought, wow, man, dude was a runner-up anyway, we'll get into that a little bit here, but he had a full ride scholarship. That really got me excited. That piqued my interest. I thought, man, this dude was a really, really good wrestler when I first heard this.
I wrestled since the time I was 4 years old. I was a state runner-up and a state placer.
A state runner-up and a placer in the state of Indiana, full ride scholarship. Indiana, so a lot of states have 3 or 4 different divisions for bigger to smaller schools. Indiana only has one division. If you're a state place winner or a runner-up, in other states, that if you're 4th or 5th place in Indiana, that might translate into being as good as 2nd place in some other states. So to say that someone's a place winner and a runner-up in Indiana, that means just a little bit more than it does in a lot of other states. It doesn't diminish the other states, but that's a tough cookie right there, man. And so I heard this from Jeremiah. I thought, wow, this dude was really, really good. So I wanted to know how good he really did in these tournaments, in the state tournament and everything. So let's listen to a second clip. But again, this is Global Awakening, July 16th. The conference was actually 2 months earlier in April, or 2.5 months earlier in April. So he's claiming wrestled from the time that he was a little kid. He had to pass up a full ride scholarship. He was a runner-up and a place winner in Indiana.
I tell people I got delivered from wrestling men to wrestling God.
Wrestling men to wrestling God. Let's listen to this second clip now.
So I grow up in this environment. I'm one of 4 boys, and I'm reaching this point in my life around 18 years old. I started wrestling in Indiana since the time I was 4 years old. I was a state runner-up and a state placer at 135 pounds and 152 pounds back in
135 pounds and 152 pounds. He was a state place winner and a runner-up. That's really impressive stuff right there. March 3rd, 2025. So I think I looked that up. Rhodes Church, he actually preached a couple weeks earlier than they got that posted on their YouTube. So it took them a couple weeks to get it uploaded. But in 2025, he's telling this story in March 2025 and in April of 2024. This is just very recent history. This is actually just a little over a year ago he's telling this story.
In the day, and I was...
But he said 135 pounds and 152 pounds. From my own experience, there's something very significant about that. See, they just started those weight classes in the 1988 and 89 wrestling season, and that happened to be my freshman year. I wrestled 125 pounds as a freshman in Iowa, and they just changed those weight classes fairly recently. So in 2006, when he says that he got a 135 pound and 152 pound weight class, state place winner and a runner-up, he cannot be talking about freestyle wrestling or Greco-Roman wrestling, and the reason why was they had entirely different weight classes. So that kind of locks him into the high school season as far as that's concerned. So let's listen to a little bit more of this clip.
Facing this decision, do I take a scholarship to Purdue or do I pursue the call of ministry on my life?
So he's not only claiming that he had a full ride scholarship, but he had a full ride scholarship to Purdue. Now, NAIA colleges offer scholarships. Division II offers scholarships. Division I offers scholarships. Okay. The thing is until just this year, college programs in Division I only had 9.9 full ride scholarships. And, well, full ride. They had 9.9 total scholarships. And it's very, extremely, extraordinarily rare that somebody in Division I gets a full ride scholarship. When they had 9.9 scholarships and they got about 30 people on a wrestling team, you have your current starting lineup, but you're looking at building a program for the next year and the year after and the year after that. Those things were kind of hard to come by. So in Division I, going to get a full ride scholarship, you're talking about someone who is a 3 or 4 time state champion, and not only that, but they had multiple national titles. I grew up in Iowa. I followed Iowa wrestling. The entire time that I followed Iowa wrestling, I knew of one and only one person who got a full ride scholarship there. I don't know that I've heard of other. Maybe they are, maybe they exist, well within the realm of possibility, but it's extraordinarily rare that someone gets a full ride Division I scholarship. But if they get one, boy, they are very, very elite, good wrestlers, and they're expected to be basically 4-time All-Americans, multiple-time national champs if they're going to get that kind of a scholarship right out of high school and be offered that for a full ride for 4 years in wrestling, especially back in that era. Yeah, you're talking about someone who was probably a world team member, cadets and juniors, which means their freshman and sophomore year, their junior and senior year. You're talking about someone who's a very elite wrestler. I'm hearing Jeremiah tell this story the first time I hear it, man, and I'm eating it up, man. This dude was good, and man, this is right up my lane. I was pretty excited. So I started looking into things a little bit, and here's a link to the Indiana. It says right here, the semi-state wrestling results. And Indiana has 4 semi-states, and you got to place in the top 4 to make it to the state finals or the state tournament. Okay, and they have 4. And here's one that's Evansville, 2006. This was Jeremiah's senior year. So I'm going to go down and scroll down here, and I'm going to find Jeremiah. And here, lo and behold, here he is. 3rd place in the semi-state. That's not the state. That's not a place winner at state. That's not runner-up at state. He's a place winner at 152. I thought, man, that's pretty good, I'm looking this up, and here he is. Avon is high school, but 31-8 record. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. He just told me that he got a full ride scholarship. You got a 31-8 record. You're not getting a full ride scholarship in Division I. You're not that elite wrestler that I just described you got to be to get that kind of a scholarship. So he's 31-8. He qualified for the look. 31-8 is a tough dude. 20 years out of shape. Someone with a 31-8 record. You don't want to fight with that guy if you're an average guy. I don't care how out of shape he is. He'll whoop the tar out of you. Mess around and find out. Okay, mess around and find out. But 31-8. Is not full ride scholarship material. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. So something's not quite adding up here. Let's look at the state tournament. And here we got the 152-pound bracket. This guy, Kurt Kinzer, ended up from Bloomington, Indiana, ended up being the state champion. 152 pounds. Again, this is 506. That's the 2006 wrestling 152 brackets. You see that? So here's page 1 of the brackets. Kurt Kinzer got 1st place. He beats the guy 1-0 in the finals. Wow, man, that's awesome. Check this out. Kevin Clem. Oh, his name ain't Jeremiah Johnson. Well, maybe it was a different year that he was a place winner. So let's scroll down in this bracket just a little bit further. Do you see the name Jeremiah Comlin Porter? Benji Dolly, 4th place. James Lewis, 5th place. Vince McAfee, 6th place. Seth Teeter, 7th place. Michael Robertson, it would have gotten 8th place. Whoa, Jeremiah was not a place winner his senior year in 2008. Huh. Well, let's see here. I got the semi-state from the 2004-2005. And let's scroll down to the Evansville semi-state where his high school, Avon High School, this is Merrillville here. Let's scroll down to the, there's New Haven. There's Newcastle. Here's Evansville. Let's check this out. Do we see Avon, Chris Hensler at 152. Kerry Johnson, that's not one of the Johnson brothers. He may be a cousin or something, but that's not Jerry Johnson. That's not Jeremiah. That's a different guy. Let's go check here. Anyone from Avon at 145? No. 140. Anyone from Avon? Yeah, Jeffrey Tenery, not Jeremiah Johnson, not Jerry Johnson. Anyone from Avon at 135? Do you remember him saying 135? This would have been a pretty good year for him to have been a qualifier at 135. And then we got Eric Fairbrother at 130, Avon. Zach Myers at 125. I'll show you here in a minute, 119. This is Jeremiah Johnson's junior year, 2005. Was he a qualifier at 145? Nope. There's someone from Avon in these other weight classes. Avon was a pretty tough school. So this is probably 135 or 145 would have been the weight that Jeremiah probably would have qualified in, because there's other Avon wrestlers named at all those other weight classes. And I'll show you here in a minute, Jeremiah wrestled 119 weight class in his freshman year. So, you know, dudes grow. He was 152 as a senior, 119 as a freshman. I doubt that he was 119 as a sophomore or a junior. But if he was, his name's not there. Okay? So, Jeremiah Johnson did not qualify for the state tournament in Indiana in 2005. Let's go to 2004. 2004 semi-state results. Again, this is the qualifying tournament in Indiana every year for the state, what they call the state finals, or what most states call the state tournament. So let's scroll on down. We got New Haven, and we got Newcastle, and here we got Evansville. This is the Evansville semi-state. So we're looking at 2004. This would be Jeremiah's sophomore year. Let's look for anyone from Avon. Anyone from Avon. 130 pounds, Avon. Avon. I don't see Jeremiah. Huh. Avon. Here's Kerry Johnson again. Again, that's not Jeremiah. That may be a cousin, but that's not one of his brothers. Do we see another Avon? No, we looked at the whole thing. There's Jeremiah's sophomore year. He did not qualify for state at all. Yeah. So, again, there's the 2006 qualifying tournament, the 2005, 2004, and here's the 2003. Let's go to semi-state, 119 pounds. I want you to notice here, 119 pounds, whose name is not in there. You see, Jeremiah, I'm just going to look at 119, and there's a reason for that. Watch this. I'm on page 57 of that document. Let's go to page 30 of it. Bam. Looky here. This is the sectional, Avon sectional. Avon, really good team. Look at that, 282 points his freshman year. Here's 119-pound weight class. Jerry Johnson. Look, you got to be a tough wrestler. You got to be pretty good to make varsity. And you're pretty good if you get second at a sectional. Now, that's the first tournament in the qualifying process. They have a sectional, and then they have a regional, and then they have semi-state, and then state. And you have to place pretty high in all these tournaments to make it to the next round. So I'm pretty sure he made it here in the next round. That's the very first of the qualifying tournaments. But then page 57, he didn't make it past that. So he didn't make it even get to the semi-state in Indiana tournament his freshman year. So his claims that he was a state place winner at 135 pounds and a state runner-up in the state of Indiana, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it did not happen. And what's the significance of this? He's telling this as his background story at Global Awakening at Voice of the Prophets Conference. He's telling that as his background story when he's telling you that he sacrificed and gave up his dream, and instead of taking his full ride scholarship, which the other videos tells us that was Purdue University, full ride scholarship to a Division I college. Man, he's really good, right? Well, he's telling us he sacrificed all that to pursue the call of God on his life, and instead of pursuing his full ride scholarship with his elite wrestling development, instead of doing that, he went to Bible school. This is pretty significant. He's on stage just 2 years ago, just 1 year ago, and he's telling major whoppers at a conference that he's getting an honorarium for, and he's getting that honorarium for it because he's telling stories, building up a platform and making people believe that he's something that he's really not. I've never been in the military, but there's this thing called stolen valor, and this is kind of what it feels like a little bit. I not the same thing, but a little bit parallel. Stealing recognition. Wow, that sounds familiar. Stealing recognition for something that you really have not quite accomplished, or that you really are not that thing that you're claiming that you are. So, test all things. Hold fast to that which is good. I never would have expected this when I first heard it. I thought that it was true, and I was not looking to find fault. I was just like, wow, man, this dude is really, really good in an area that really piques my interest, and it turns out even that was a lie. So, anyway, folks, test all things. Hold fast to that which is good. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.